I just read the first issue from Volume 1 of the Marvel Ultraman comic, and I gotta say, guys, Rise of Ultraman is so good! All of the problems I have with tokusatsu shows in general all come down to the fact that the special effects look like they're coming from the 80s, the acting isn't always on point, and it just feels like it's lacking. It feels like it's missing something. But every single time I watch a tokusatsu product, be it Kamen Rider, be it Power Rangers, be it Ultraman, I always feel like if they just took these extremely creative and interesting ideas and just aged it up a little bit, made it a little bit more mature, and had a little bit better execution, there would be some genuinely phenomenal stories here for people to enjoy of any age. A lot of the Ultraman stuff feels a little bit too specifically targeted towards kids for the purpose of selling toys, and it makes it feel awkward reading through it. But with the Marvel comic, by the very nature of it being a Marvel comic, you can enjoy it at any age. Like, it's not too intense for a 10-year-old, but as an adult, you don't feel like it's being dumbed down or like you're being fed low-budget crap. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big, visually impressive production. So when I was watching through, the first thing that struck me was the art. Like, oh my god, it looks so good. The first scene takes place in 1966. And the story, it starts out with this pilot cruising around. I don't know what he's looking for. It just says he's trying to intercept something. And then randomly, kaplow! His jet gets obliterated by a meteor. There's just giant fireball from space obliterating his jet. And the art in this panel is so good. After he gets absolutely obliterated and collapses to the ground, you see him get lifted up into the air by the energy of whatever is happening. It's not clearly explained what exactly is happening to him. He just floats up into the Ultraman shaped figure in the sky and kind of gets absorbed in this giant orange meteor thing. We smash cut to 2020. We first get introduced to Cadet Fuji. This girl is talking about being a systems analyst, blah blah blah, nothing crazy interesting, and then she goes to work and she steps through some sort of light barrier and comes out the other side in this like super secret facility. There's this giant statue of Moroboshi. I don't know who that is, but it seems interesting. And they also use this mechanic of anytime there's important information that would typically be there, but you want to hide it from the audience, they scratch out certain words. It's almost like it's been redacted by the government as part of a cover-up. It makes it kind of interesting. It immediately makes you speculate on what it could mean, and I feel like that small detail adds a lot of intrigue. And then we get these introductions. The main character meets this middle-aged dude, and they just chat a little bit about K-rays and how it seems like this thing is transferring energy to another thing. That's all sci-fi nonsense, blah blah blah. And then we get introduced to Captain Muramatsu. And then we get a little bit of exposition here explaining that K-rays are this tool given by these agents. It's basically this media's version of like energy beams. And then after a little bit of blah blah blah, we get right into the action. Alright, then we see Fuji and Muramatsu, they sort of enter this location and there's like gutted pigs on meat hooks. And the meat hooks that they're on seem like ridiculous, like they're way larger than normal, and there's actual blood. And again, it's nice to see a tokusatsu series that feels like it's being taken seriously. And they pick up on all these little details, like it's way too dark. Why is there blood on the meat hook where they're hanging up dried meat? She just immediately picks up that something is off. And then very quickly we see the source of the problem. There's this really well designed like lizard creature. I don't know if it's a salamander or what it's supposed to be, but it looks so friggin' cool. Look at the lines, look at the detail, look at the artistry, look at the way its glowing eyes are the exact same color as the flashlights. So it looks like the retro-reflective membrane of a predator. It's got those targeted forward-facing eyes and huge mouth and teeth, and it's hanging in the rafters. I just think it's such a good shot. Like, I really like this panel a lot. Captain Muramatsu wastes absolutely no time. He pulls out his gun and fires some K-rays at the kaiju monster lizard thingy. And then you would think that would be the end of it, because these guns look pretty overpowered, but thankfully the show's not over yet, and we see some action as this creature slashes him across the arm, disabling his gun hand. Like, this isn't just a random slash at him, it was a targeted attack at his gun hand, which I feel like it just makes the creature seem that much more like intelligent and threatening, that it immediately went for his gun hand and not a different wound that would have allowed him to keep his gun and continue shooting at him. I like the idea that the creature, you know, has some level of intelligence. And then Fuji whips out her own pistol, blasts the creature, and it's retreating into the darkness, and you think it might get away, and then all of a sudden, blammo! Another blast of K-rays from another direction. And then you see this smarmy dickhead, and he's just kind of swaggering in like, hey, how you doing? And he reveals that he found them because he somehow invented a kaiju tracker, and then Captain Muramatsu like confiscates the kaiju tracker, only for Shin to reveal he's built multiple. Which, honestly, pro move. If you know that you're gonna have your cool stuff confiscated by the government, you might as well build multiple. That's just the smart thing to do. I like this character already. I always like the smug, asswipe characters. They're always a lot of fun. Then Shin and Fuji have a conversation at a restaurant where we reveal that Fuji is really dissatisfied with the company that she works for, and she's really irritated that the company seems to be hiding things from her, and she kind of has this motivation to like unravel some sort of conspiracy. To which Shin replies that she's got a really good job saving the world from kaiju, and she should kind of just be happy where she is, be grateful that she gets the chance to save the world in this awesome position, and to not worry about a conspiracy that doesn't really concern her. And Fuji ends the dinner scene with this really great line of how the more she works here, the more she thinks that maybe the kaiju aren't the only thing that she should be afraid of. And oh my god, that's such a great line. I love it so much. So Fuji and Shin meet up together because Fuji wants to do some investigating, and Shin isn't gonna let her run off on her own into some dangerous situation, and they run into Captain Muramatsu while they're doing their investigating. And it's at this point you realize that the cut that Captain Muramatsu got from the monster is actually still healing. And I actually kind of like this. He was wounded in a previous panel, and instead of doing what a lot of comics do, which is forgetting injuries happen, he's actually bandaged up and injured, and it actually affects the story moving forward instead of just being fountains of blood, and then they're fine. It's nice to have a little bit of consistency and realism. So then the gang kind of walks over to this like crater site, and Muramatsu admits that the company like shot it down. And then Shin asks, how did you know the UFO was hostile? To which Muramatsu responds, because the last time we met with one of the things, it killed one of our men. And he's of course talking about the prologue from earlier within the issue. And then we just see this absolutely massive glowing orange orb in the middle of this crater. And then Muramatsu says, first responders have one responsibility, to make sure the damn thing's dead. And it's such a cool line, I love that. And as they all get into position to shoot whatever's gonna come out, you see what appears to be Ultraman come hatching out of his egg. They all immediately panic and start shooting at it. And this part confuses me because it kind of looks like Ultraman is hurt by their laser pistols, which if you ask me is kind of lame. Why is a portable handheld weapon powerful enough to cause harm to this friggin' giant of light? Kinda seems dumb. Honestly, not a fan. It really devalues the power of Ultraman when you can just shoot him with a handgun. Boo! But then it does get a little bit more interesting when Fuji points out the fact that the thing is clearly in pain, and Shin realizes, oh wait, maybe it's not a threat. He can feel its thoughts and feelings and realizes that it's in pain, and then he apologizes, reaches out and touches Ultraman on the fingertip, and then there's this like flash of light, and then we have no idea what happens next, but based on what I've seen from Ultraman stuff before, I'm assuming the two of them fuse. And honestly, I am so impressed by this Ultraman comic. I loved every moment of reading the first issue, and I highly recommend you guys go check it out as well. If you want me to review the second issue of Rise of Ultraman, I absolutely will. Let me know in the comments. If this video gets 10 likes, you guys can do that. I think I deserve 10 likes for this. Give me 10 likes, I'll do a review of issue number 2. But that's the end of the first issue, leaving you on a cliffhanger. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Love ya. Bye.
Even if you think I'm in the wrong, just know that although I may not think everything through, I don't take back what I say or regret what I do, and that I'm not the villain I appear to.